Hi, I am Kat Seegers. I am a producer in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm also a writer and a director. And I have a new project coming out this December on Christmas Day, A Soulful Christmas on BET Plus. And I'm looking forward to checking it out with all of you.
On cam ready in 3, 2, 1. This is Unknown to Known, an on cam ready presentation. I'm Jamie Maglietta. Thanks so much for being here. If you've been listening to the podcast, you already know that I've spent about 20 years working across television news, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News Channel, but I also spent some time at BET. And that's why today's guest is a very special one to me because her latest film is out now on BET. Today's guest is Cas Sigers, a writer, director, and producer. She's directed hit projects like When Love Kills, Scheme Queens, and The Match. Her work is aired on BET, Lifetime, Hallmark, TV One, and more, earning multiple NAACP and Gracie Award nominations. She is also director of the new film out right now on BET Plus, A Soulful Christmas.
Why am I here?
We should do the song.
I knew it was something. No.
Come on, okay? I know you're a singer. All right, and I saw online that you teach guitar lessons. You having a hit song would be great for your enrollment.
This is not the first time that somebody's tried to get me to redo one of my mom's songs. I'm not interested.
Think about the royalties, okay? Interviews. I'm talking J. Hud, Tamara, Sherry. They all gonna want us.
Do you even sing?
I can hold a note.
Be sure to check out A Soulful Christmas on BET Plus. If you're interested in turning that cool idea that you've been thinking about for a long time into a film or a scripted series, today's episode is for you. Having worked at BET and ushered programming to BET Plus, I really wanted to have Cas on to talk about the new show, but also about her career and what it takes to turn an idea into a show. If you're liking the direction this podcast is taking, be sure to give Unknown to Known a follow on your podcasting platform of choice or subscribe to the YouTube channel where I have Unknown to Known and the podcast Think Like a Producer. Now let's get to our guests. We know each other through the Producers Guild of America, but when I was looking at your background, it looks like you started in costumes.
I did. I wanted to be a writer like in high school. I told my dad, I was like, I'm gonna go be a writer. And he said, a writer like how? Like, how are you gonna make money? And he's like, are you gonna teach writing? I'm like, no, I'm gonna be like Maya Angelou. I'm just gonna write. And at the time, Maya Angelou was actually teaching at Wake Forest. I'm from Winston-Salem. So she was at the school and I actually took a little summer class. So he just couldn't understand how I was going to make that transition. So he's like, yeah, do something else. So I ended up going to school for textiles and then ended up getting a costume degree. And so like I went to school for 4 years, went another 2 years, worked for a children's wear company designing children's wear, and then started getting into styling music videos. So just still made my transition, then wrote a treatment for a music video, got paid for that. And then I was like, oh, get paid for writing. Ended up going on the road, costuming a stage play while I wrote my first novel. Then that novel got optioned. Terry Vaughn read it and took it to her manager. And from there on, that's how I transitioned into writing and film and television.
Digging into your background, I just was, we get along really well. I love being around you. But then I started to be like, oh my gosh, like Cas
I had like 9 lives, yes. I'm like all these lives. People have no idea.
Yeah. I had that moment of like, oh my gosh. But the thing is, if I knew all that, maybe I wouldn't have been so warmed up around you in the first place. Maybe I would have been a little nervous, because your background is deep.
Well, thank you.
You've done so much.
You wouldn't have, because I'm still the same. I mean,
yeah, because
we're goofy. We're goofy, producing, creative girls. So we would have got along. It wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, no, I was just loved digging into your background. I'm really glad you could be here because one of the questions I constantly get asked is, how do you turn that idea into a show? How do you turn that book into a best-selling, movie? And I'm like, you know what, guys, there's a lot to this.
Yeah.
So I feel like we need to make sure we touch on that with some ideas or tips for people. But I'd love to start back into a little bit more of your career. You wrote a book that got optioned.
So I wrote a
So
book.
people also ask about that. Yeah.
Yes. So of course, as you know, there's no one way to do any of this stuff.
Mhm.
And the book I wrote was called A Girl Named Lily. So that was my very first novel. And I wrote the novel and I was still costuming. So I had decided I wasn't going to costume anymore. I was like, I'm done. I'm a writer now, blah, blah, blah. And someone called me about a job costuming and they didn't have a lot of money. It was a movie called Fair Game. And Tommy called and said, hey, can you come and do this project? I was like, I don't know. Well, I
Mhm.
ended up doing it, but I was like, I'm going to bring my book and I'm going to give my book to everyone. And that's what I did. And I gave it to Kalita Smith. And at the time she was on Bernie Mac. I gave it to Terry Vaughn. And Terry read the book and took it back to LA, read it on the flight, loved it, called me from the call sheet because we didn't have a relationship, and said, hey, I want to give this to my agent.
Mm.
Would you be interested in making this into a TV show? I'm like, sure, why not? Whatever. So she gives it to the agent. Agent loves it, wants to fly me out there. So I go out there. I'm staying with Terry. We're pitching it. We're doing all the things. And then we get feedback. They love the book, but they don't feel like it is urban. They feel like it's general market. So they didn't want Terry to star in it. They didn't want to make the character African American. And that actually is what lit a fire under Terry and I to start our own production company. And this was in 2000,
Mhm.
2004, 3, 4, somewhere around there. So that literally is how that career kind of jumped off from there. So it wasn't a traditional, I had managers, I had agents,
Mhm.
I had this book. It wasn't any of that. I've just always been a go-getter and I've always like seized every opportunity. So
Mhm.
I was costuming, but I literally was on set telling everybody, I know I'm costuming, but I'm not a costumer. I'm really a writer and here's my book. And
Mhm.
then Kalita actually took the book to her managers on her production people on Bernie Mac because her character used to read a lot. And one day my literary agent, because I did have a literary agent, a book agent, called and said, hey, like ABC wants you to sign off on this because they're going to use it on the Bernie Mac show. And then they showed it on the show and then the book sales went really well. And so that helped me get like a book deal with my publisher. And then I ended up doing like 5 more books
That is a
while I
dream
was
for
trying to
so
start a
many people
production
listening.
company.
What'd you say?
While I was trying to start a production company that I knew nothing about starting. Yeah.
The dream life right there. No, but so many people always are like, well, how do I get my book into a film? And I'm like, you got to be handing that book out to everyone,
You do. And it's
showing up
changed.
everywhere.
I mean, it's changed a lot because this was pre-audiobooks. So we didn't
Mm.
have audiobooks at the time, but now like I just actually optioned a book that I watched the documentary, found the subject in the documentary and she had written a book. So now even trying to market your book is a little different than it was 20 years ago. Because we were just like trying to get our stuff on the shelves in Barnes and Noble. There was no
Yeah.
Kindle, there was no, Amazon to put your book through
Mhm.
it. But what I would say, anybody who has like a book and they really want to try to market, it's all about marketing. You got to try to market that book, get that book to the right book clubs, and then get you a publicist who can get you on the bestsellers list. Like
Yeah.
it's about having marketing dollars now, where before I could honestly say it was getting on the road. Like I did a lot of book signings. I was at the malls. I was at all the bookstores and I was doing all those things. But now those things, it's a digital world. Like
Yeah.
those things I don't want to say they don't matter. You have to do that in addition to, you know, getting a billboard in Times Square.
Hmm.
You can pay for one.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
can
Did you? I see it all the time on Instagram. I'm like, oh, why? If anyone can do it, then it's not as special.
you can pay for it. You can pay for advertising on the radio. You can pay and
Mhm.
and so it's hard being an independent book it's hard to be an independent author without the backing of marketing, whether it be from the publisher, and all
Mhm.
publishers don't give you marketing budgets.
No.
A lot of them not don't. Or having a sponsor, or having, a tie to maybe a corporate, a sponsor affiliation, some sort of foundation, something that can subsidize you as a writer on the
Hmm.
marketing side.
Yeah. We have an episode coming up in 2026 with a ghostwriter,
Hmm.
and she talks about the marketing aspect too, about the book, because I said to her, all these people think they just need the email list and they're going to sell it. And it's like, yeah, you do. But at the same time, you need a strategy.
Got to have a strategy. I
And
haven't
marketing's key.
out and we're trying to figure the strategy out with the new book. I did better with my first books, even though this latest book to me is a much better book, but the landscape has changed. And so now my assistant and I are trying to figure out like Facebook groups and how do we approach them and how do we get to them. And it's a process you'll always be learning. I did like an AI video to go with the book. Just now looking at how do I put it up as an audiobook? How do I get it into an audiobook? And that's changing every day. So I think as an author, being able to stay up also on technology is very key.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what's the new book about?
Sycamore Song. Sycamore Song is my latest book. It came out actually last year and the end of last year.
Yeah, because I feel like you told me that you had a new book come out, but
Yes,
I just thought
yes.
maybe you had another one. I'm like, wait a
No,
second.
no. That's the
Okay.
same one. I've been
So the new book
working on
last year,
films.
got it. Tell us a little bit about it.
Sycamore Song is a book about a young lady named Chimwala, and it's set in Malawi. And her father actually passes away when she's a young girl, and her family has to not I say sell, but give her to this rich family. She marries into a rich family in order for the dowry for her mother and her sister to be taken care of. But the family is not the best family, and she ends up having to flee, and she treks across Malawi to Tanzania and ends up making her way to America, only to find herself entrapped into another systematic problem. And it's a journey. It's really this journey. She starts this journey when she's 14 years old and ends up having kids and then she ends it when she's 21. But it's this empowering journey where she's had to fend for herself and learn that what her dad used to call her, he used to call her like she was very much like a sycamore tree. And sycamore trees are strong and they grow, but a lot of times in the middle, people have no idea that they're hollow in the middle, but their roots are so strong that they just continue to grow. And she learns the power that she has that she never thought she had over this journey. So
Wow. So did it come from a personal experience or a dream or, some people have them come from
no.
unique places.
Well, it came from a young lady who was telling her testimony. She was actually in an unhoused shelter that we were volunteering at, and she was at this shelter, and she was telling a story about. It had nothing to do with the beginning, like she was sold into a family, but she was telling a story of how she came to America and from Africa, and when she got here to America, she ended up getting trafficked. And she thought it was a church ministry. And so from that little point, I basically gave the character a whole entire backstory and then added the ending to it and developed another whole story from that. So that was the original idea.
That's compelling. And so I'm glad you could share that here with everybody. And I'm going to break away from this podcast episode to let you know about Riverside FM. Riverside FM is my content creation platform of choice. And there's a link in the description, my affiliate link, that you can use to get Riverside today. I also have a discount code OCR15. Riverside has all these AI features. You record in Riverside, and all of your elements are right there waiting for you when you're done recording. And you can edit it using AI. AI will do a nice studio audio sweep through your podcast, and it can even cut out ums and ahs and all those weird pauses. Not only can it help with the pauses, it also cuts social media clips. So check out Riverside. Again, the link is in the description. Now back to the show. Since we're talking about your projects, why don't you tell us also about the film that you have out right now on BET Plus, Soulful Christmas.
Yes, A Soulful Christmas. It premieres December 25th on BET Plus, and it is a wonderful multi-generational happy Christmas movie. So it stars Casey Walful and Miles Truitt and Kenny Lattimore and Shantae Moore. Oh, excuse me. Kenny Lattimore and Jesus, I don't even know why I said
I'll
that.
pick it up. Say
Yes,
pick up
please,
and I'll remember to
pick up right there. So
pick it
it
up. I'll ask you again. So while we're talking about wait, before you while we're talking about your book project, tell us more about your BET Plus film that's out right now.
Yes. So out on 25th of December, Christmas Day, it premieres. It is A Soulful Christmas, and it is a fun, multi-generational Christmas movie, of course, with music and singing, and it stars Miles Truitt and Casey Walpole and Kenny Lattimore and Shanice. And Kenny and Shanice actually record an original song called Love at Christmas Time for the movie, and that song will be out November 28th on all platforms. And we'll of course use that song to promote the movie. And the movie premise is Shanice's character and Kenny Lattimore's character, they were high school sweethearts. And they recorded this song, and the song became like a big Christmas hit. It was like one of those iconic Christmas songs. But through a lot of industry mess, they end up breaking up and falling out, and they haven't spoken in 25 years. And so now this small town of Macon wants to bring them back to give them a star on their walk of fame. And they don't want to come because they don't want to see each other. So they send their kids, their son and their daughter. And when they get there, the promoter wants them to re-record their parents' song. So of course, mayhem ensues. They, don't want to record the song, and they argue, and then that ends up making the parents come back. And
Where was it shot?
it was shot here in Atlanta.
That's
We
great.
shot in all parts of Atlanta. So we shot some in South Fulton, some downtown Atlanta, some in Buckhead. So just various places in Atlanta. Yeah.
That's great. I had to ask that, guys, because we're both in the Producers Guild of America in Atlanta, and I'm sure there may be some producers listening who are probably curious.
We shot it in Atlanta, and we did the whole Georgia film tax credit. We were able to do that in Atlanta too. So that was a real win for us as producers, because when you produce on a smaller budget, the tax credit is really how the producers get paid.
Yeah. And Cass was just on our State of the Industry panel at Great Point Studios, hosted by Lionsgate. And I think it was a great panel. So thank you for being a part of that. When you produce a film, and, sometimes there's some production hiccups, right?
A lot.
So I saw a few weeks back you were laying out the production roadmap. So what are some tips that you maybe have for those producers, since we're mentioning them right now? Some tips for them on making sure that their film is a success.
Oh gosh,
So
prep.
much, so much.
It's so much, right? It's so, I mean, prep is huge. So when you have, let's just say if you have a budget of $1 million, let's just say it's $1 million or a little less than $1 million, you might get 3-4 weeks prep. I mean, we're not talking 3-4 months, 3-4 weeks prep paid. But I never use that. I literally start prepping from the time I get a green light. Even if it's like, okay, we know we're going to get a green light from this project, or we just got funding, but we're not shooting for 5-6 months out. I literally, as a producer, I start prepping. I start, we make sure we do that budget. We do the budget 2 or 3 times. I am not a line producer, but I have incredible line producers on my team. Shout out to Errol Sadler, Ty Johnston Chavis. They are incredible line producers. And we just really work that budget and see where we can shave off anything. As the producer, I bring in locations kind of first, one of the first people I bring in, because as you know, locations budgets can like skyrise. There was a time in Atlanta where you could shoot almost for free. I mean, I remember don't you remember those days? It was like, oh, yes, we'd love for you to come and shoot. Now it's like
Of course.
$5,000 a day. So we scout locations, and I make sure all of the, can we get any of these locations cheaper? How long? Is there any hiccups with the locations? Because sometimes people will give you a contract and it's got some fine language in there, and it's like, oh, we said we would give you this amount for an 8-hour day, but now you guys are going on a 10-hour day. So now those extra 2 hours are going to cost you $1,000 an hour. Like little tricky stuff like that. But if you don't get those things done way in advance, what happens is it's 2 weeks before production, and now you're stuck, and now you're going into your contingency fund because you don't have another option for your location. Making sure with Atlanta, it could rain. Georgia, it can rain anytime, any day, unpredictable. So making sure you have some options for days, your schedule. You can either shoot around or have indoors and to replace your outdoor shoots. Talent, I start working with my casting agents early, getting options. seeing if, obviously we're going to do SAG, but seeing in what I love to do new and old. So I think
Mhm.
the beauty about what we do a lot of times, we give a lot of people chances for their first films. In fact, Taylor Simone, who plays Miles's sister in the movie A Soulful Christmas, she comes from Broadway. And so this is her first film debut. She blew me away in the auditions, and I was like, who is this girl? I've never seen her.
Mhm.
I went to her IMDb. She didn't have an IMDb. And I just was like, this is so crazy. So then I started Googling her and found out she's from Broadway. So again, all of those things, I think as a producer, even though they do kind of infringe upon the casting and locations and,
Mhm.
some of the other departments, as a producer, you kind of have to know it all and you kind
Mhm.
of have to dip your toe in all of it. And that's how I ensure success. I mean, I just prep. I do weeks of prep without pay, and then I do weeks of prep with pay.
A lot of people don't realize that's how it is. Like, if you are picking up a TV show, a documentary series, any type of production that's not under the network. So, say the network people, they'll be paid salary year round, most likely.
Yeah,
But when you're a production company, you really have to make your budget stretch as far as you can
yeah,
go to get the job done.
for
And
sure.
sometimes that is the case. Yeah.
Even when it's greenlit by a network.
Yeah.
If it's greenlit by a network, such as A Soulful Christmas,
Hmm.
we licensed it, but we got a pre-sale. So pretty much we got a pre-sale for the licensing, and then we made
Hmm.
the movie for the licensing budget of the movie. Um, it was a quick turnaround. They got a green light at the network for 2025.
Hmm.
They wanted another holiday film. I think they called us in February with a
Hmm.
July delivery.
That's incredible. That's
So
fast, though. Like, a lot of people
it's
don't realize that's
super
fast to
fast.
crank out a film.
So that
Yeah.
was fast. The horror movie, the thriller that we have coming out next year on AMC and All Black, we've had a whole year. We've had all of 25.
Mm.
We sold it in
Yeah. That's good.
2024. We had all of 25. We don't deliver until 26. But that is still that's not the norm.
Mhm.
A lot of times
No.
if you have a green light for a project, if it's or a TV movie, which is a lot of the things that we do, or our team does,
Yeah.
it's usually 6 months.
So how do you select the ideas that you really wanna invest your time in? Is there, some type of, I don't know, maybe like a checklist that this idea has to check off a few of these boxes? Like, how do you decide?
Um, there is no I don't wanna say it's a checklist. So, in my folder that I have called Scripts, Treatments, Pitches on my
Mhm.
computer. I have ideas. I have so many ideas that I'm just developed that I never turn into scripts. I never make them into scripts because my mind is just always like, oh, there's a pretty bird. Oh, this would be a great movie about a bird,
Mhm.
And I have those sitting there. And I have them there for a purpose because when I do my pitches to networks, if they ever say we're looking for a movie that's like this, I can go to that folder and say, oh, here's an idea. So that's the purpose of that. Then I have a folder with things that are just near and dear to me. They are my passion projects.
Mhm.
I optioned a book called Child of an Indian Race. It's a story about Sandy Whitehawk. It's her personal story.
Mhm.
And she's a Native American who was stolen from her reservation. And so that was a very personal project. I've been working to get that done. I'm really close to getting it done. So hopefully we can come back on and tell it
Yes, when
here and
you
we
are,
can
we
talk
should.
about that. And so I have a folder of just like passion projects, things that speak to me personally. Like they are just what
Mhm.
if I could build a perfect world and I had an endless pot of money, I would just make these projects.
Yeah.
And then I have projects that I know the networks want. So I've written for Hallmark, I've written for BET and Lifetime. So I know the type of projects they want. I get the mandates that usually come from the networks that come via my manager. And so I go through the mandates and they're looking for this and they're looking for that. And I just write projects for what they
Mhm.
want. And then those are the ones I pitch. So
Oh, that's
as a
smart.
writer or even as a creator or producer, you have to have, a variable of projects. You have to have the things that you love, but they might not be commercial projects. They might be art
Mhm.
house films,
Yeah.
films that you may have to, get independent money for.
Mhm.
But always have that stable of projects that are projects you just are gonna sell. That's it.
Yeah,
They
and
might
that's
not
the
be near and
thing.
dear.
you'd got to be able to think about the marketing. So we were talking about the book. To sell the book, you need the marketing. To sell the
Yes.
film, you need the marketing. So if you're listening and you have this incredible idea, or you think your life is supposed to be a film,
Right.
you really need to think about who your audience is, how they are going to consume this, right? And
Mm-hmm.
how you are going to market it to
Yeah.
them so they want more from you. I want to break away from this podcast one more time to encourage you to claim your visibility. If you want more out of life and you want to start earning press and becoming a niche expert, start showing up on camera. I have a visibility program you can use to jumpstart your social media efforts and turn your thought leadership into content ideas. So check out my visibility program at oncamready.com. Now back to the show.
Being a producer, you have to be a salesperson.
Yeah.
You have to be sales. I would be a much better, and I think I'm a great producer, but I'd be a much better producer if I were a better salesperson.
Mm,
I hate the act of selling. I hate
no, me too.
pitching and selling, and I
Yeah, I
just
don't
feel like
like it.
it's so jazz hands and dancey and like, look what I have. And I just
I know. I can't even sell myself as a person. I'm like, "Hi, I'm
I
Jamie."
I I mean, because we're creatives too,
Mhm,
and so as a creative and a writer, I'm very much in my head. I'm very much like, these are my thoughts and they are great and why
mhm.
don't you appreciate them? And as a producer, you can't be like that. You have to know the market. You have to know what's selling. You have to look at what's on TV right
Yes.
now. When you have to know the trends. Like I remember a couple of years ago, I was like, oh, verticals are going to be hot. Like I
Mhm.
just started looking and I saw a few things. This is before the Real
Yep.
Short app. And I started talking about it and telling people. Now, if I were a producer wanting to get into verticals, that's what I would have moved towards.
Mhm.
I knew thrillers was, and crime was hot. So I started directing. My first few things I directed were
Mhm.
crimes and thriller projects because those are the ones I knew I would try to pitch independently. And I knew
Mhm.
that if they were selling, I could then show those numbers to my investors and say, hey, this is what's selling. This is what they're selling for. I want to do this. This is how much I want to do it for. It
Mhm.
has to make sense if you
It
are
does.
pitching something independently. So you have to be a salesperson. You have to follow the trends. Producers just have to be so smart and badass and a
Mhm.
lot of things that it
A
can
lot
be
of things. We wear a
awesome.
lot of hats. And I
Well,
know some people listening may say, "Well, I got this project, I wanna produce it anyway." Go for it. Go for it. But if you want it to be successful, you're
yeah,
gonna need that backing
you're gonna
because the
need the back.
marketing is key and the money is gonna help.
So put the marketing budget in your budget.
Yes.
Put it in your budget. That was a hard lesson I didn't learn, and now I have learned.
Mhm.
Make it a substantial amount of your budget, and you can justify that to your investors. Now, mind you, if you're selling a project and pitching it to your your network, then whatever you get paid as a producer, isolate a little smart part of that out as marketing for yourself because
Yes.
you want to be able to get an article in Deadline or in Variety. So that means you got to get a publicist to be able to call them to get the article because the network isn't necessarily going to promote you or talk about you. They're going to talk about
Mhm.
the project. And so a lot of times producers get buried underneath their projects and nobody knows our names. And so we have to invest in ourselves as well.
Yes. The personal branding is very important. And I say that quite often here because if you're on that journey from unknown to known, you're not going to get known if you're not building that personal brand. And you
Correct.
need to be amplifying that personal brand everywhere you can. And I see you doing that on Instagram. So I just need to ask, how do you feel so comfortable and confident on camera? I mean, you come across as comfortable and confident on camera, so I'm assuming you are. But how do you show up so consistently? Because there are people who may be going to your Instagram right now, because there's a link in the description, and checking you out and saying, wow, she's so good on camera and she's behind the scenes. So, what made you decide to start maybe being forward facing?
I have a 25-year-old assistant who is amazing, and
Mm-hmm.
she pesters me daily. We have to make
Mm-hmm.
content. We've got to do this. She came up with the hashtag AskCast
Love it.
because people were always I would do panels, and after the panels, I'd have a long line. Long
Mm-hmm.
line of people asking me
Yep.
questions. And so she's like, you can answer these questions. So if you are over 40, get you
Mhm.
somebody in your life who's in their 20s, that really wants to and understands and loves social media. Now, you can be over 40 and love social media. I am not that person. So she basically rebranded everything. And of course, there are producers. You can hire all kinds of social media people, but that person also needs to know you because they need to know what you're comfortable with. So we've had lots of conversations about what I will and what I won't do. And there are a lot of things I feel like your brand has to be authentic. So
Yeah.
I don't want to come across doing, feeling younger or being hip or being
Mhm.
whatever these
Yeah.
other things. My daughter's always trying to get me to do these dance routines. And I'm like, I'm just like, I'm not gonna
I
do it.
mean, we could do it in the kitchen, but don't record.
We do them in the house. Yes, we have a great
Yeah.
time in the house, but
Mhm.
that's not my brand. I'm like, no, I'm
No.
not gonna be that mom. But we talked about curating this brand around giving back, serving, because I'm really big on that. So that is going to tie into my foundation that I'm launching next year. So she's just brilliant at carefully curating the content for me and
Mhm.
then staying on top of like me.
Mhm.
Content day. We've got to post this today. You have to do this. And she sets up the little ring light and she does all the things. And I love
Mhm.
her for it. That's,
Yeah.
that's really, I cannot take credit. I cannot take
Mhm.
credit. All
But
the,
she's encouraging you, she's coaching you, she's telling you what to do. And
yes,
that's what some people need. And that is what I'm offering in 2026. I have biweekly coaching calls for anyone who's listening, and they need someone to produce them. I'll hold
yes.
2 calls a month and I'll tell you what to do. And I
Call
won't be telling you to
Jamie.
get a 20-year-old assistant to shoot your content. What are you
Yes.
going to say?
I say call Jamie because they have to be produced.
They
That's
do.
the thing. We feel like, oh, I can just get on, I can just do whatever. But I mean, it all has to be produced. It
Mhm.
literally, she texted me at 1 o'clock and said, it's time to get ready. If not, I'm in my sweats. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like you have to have someone, and a lot of times producers, we're like, we don't want to be produced because we produce, but
Yes.
but someone needs to produce us. Like
Correct.
so and if you want to again create this brand and start really creating who you are, that's the answer.
Yeah, I would agree, and I'm at that stage now too where I'm like, I'm tired of producing myself. Like, I just am. I don't even wanna do my hair anymore.
Jamie,
I
trust me.
just
I mean, I have dreads, so I don't have to do much,
Oh
but
my
I
god,
do have to like pull it up. I have to pull it up, and then on the days that I decide I'm not going to dye it, I have to color in these roots, and
yeah, well, it looks nice. I
we
like the
got to
color.
do things. But I get it. I get it. I
Mhm.
I love creating. You never have to get me up to go on set ever.
Yeah.
You don't have to get me up to write, get on my computer, but everything else has to be produced.
Oh, yeah. I have to I don't even wanna put on makeup. The fact that I had to put on makeup every day this week, I was like,
Yeah,
putting
I
on makeup today, I was like, "Come on."
I get it. I get it. My girlfriends were all laughing about getting they were like, we're gonna go to the Kentucky Derby because that's where the rich guys hang out and we're gonna get like a sugar daddy and all this stuff for these wealthy men. I said, I've just that those days are gone. I said, I don't have
Mhm.
the bandwidth to
Mm-mm.
be that person, to be on the arm, like on the arm candy. Are you kidding me? I have to have heels, my hair, my nails, like
Mhm.
the upkeep.
Oh, no.
You know what? I'll just go to work.
No,
Just go
no.
work on
But you could put me in all black and boots and send me out with my fanny pack into the set, and I'll be content.
I'm content. Yeah. Yeah, I
Mhm.
get it. But again, we're a different breed. I
Yes.
think creatives, producers especially, we're a little weird. We aren't the norm.
Mhm.
And I love it though. I do.
Mhm. And we're
I
the
wouldn't trade
overachiever type, so it's a bit, you get
for sure.
exhausted.
For sure.
But speaking of young creatives,
Yes.
with, the market going in different directions, media's breaking up sometimes, we're dealing with no money, sometimes we're dealing with, oh, there's money for projects. It's just a roller coaster right now.
Yeah.
Do you think you're gonna start seeing more projects, or what are you looking at?
I'm just gonna say it's great. I definitely feel like we've been in a lull.
Hmm.
What I am finding out, and this is not a good thing that I'm about to say, um, a lot of the networks and studios do not want to deal with unions. So as a WGA writer, I am now losing a lot of my accounts to non-WGA writers. And I won't get into specifics with the networks, but they are specifically saying to producers as well as to myself as a producer, we don't want a WGA writer for this. We don't want a DGA director for this. Um, so I think unfortunately we'll see more of that, and
Hmm.
that's not good. It's you know what? It's not good for us who are union. It's great for those newbies that are coming up in the game because they're getting
Yeah.
opportunities. So, it's a cycle. So I don't want to hate on the new kids on the block that are not in the union because it's a great thing that now they get the opportunity because there was a time they would have never gotten the opportunity.
Hmm.
However, what does that say for the vets? I don't know. So that's the not good thing. But I think the flip side of that is as all of these networks merge
Hmm.
and we have less content, especially less diverse content,
Mm.
that there's going to be an explosion of independent streaming services, such as what Tubi did. I think there are going to be more Tubis of the world, and it will be opportunities for groups of content creators to get money and start creating their own content. And
Hmm.
that's going to explode because if you can't go to Hulu or wherever, Amazon, and watch a Christmas movie, an Indian Christmas movie, Asian, a Black, or whatever, then you're going to go to the streaming site. You're going to go to YouTube. You're going to go wherever. So I think as the conglomerates gobble up all of the networks, it's only going to like streamline the content to go somewhere else. So I just think
Mhm.
we'll see a shift. I won't necessarily say it's going to be a decline, but it will definitely be a shift. And I think we'll see pods of new creators. There's like a new group out of San Francisco creating. There's a bunch of guys out of Detroit creating content. And I just think we'll start to see, more pods throughout the country, not just located in LA or Atlanta
Hmm.
or New York.
Yeah, no, it is positive and it is hopeful because there's a lot of creatives creators we're talking now. We're now
Mhm.
talking creators, not creatives in a sense. So the creators that are out there on social media, they may have more opportunity to build long form content and
Sure.
have the audience. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunity, especially if you are listening and you're thinking, gosh, I really want to have my own YouTube channel or podcast. Guys, hear this conversation and get started because as she's saying, more eyes are turning to the streaming platforms. So why not be there?
Right.
We're there.
The people, Jace, is it A24? Their new director that they just hired was like this 19-year-old kid who had a movie. He did a project on YouTube called Milk and Cereal, and
Huh.
cereal is spelled like serial killer. And it got, I don't know, millions and millions of streams. Well, they hired him. He did another project, did it in a festival, and they hired him to like do this multi-million-dollar thriller. But it came from him doing this $800 film on YouTube.
Oh, wow.
I think we'll see more of that.
That's compelling.
Yeah, I definitely think we'll see more of that. And he's like the youngest new director and directing like a $19 million film. It's like some big A24 film.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just had on Carol Costello. She's a CNN anchor, and she was talking. Well, former CNN anchor, and she was talking about how her journalism students they went across the country and were interviewing people about Gen Z and the relationship with politics, and they decided let's turn it into a documentary.
Mm,
Why not? And
right.
it's just that I think that we wouldn't have done that years ago.
No,
Where
because it's been
now
like
it's like,
where?
why
Where do
not?
you, yeah, because you can put it up.
Yeah.
There are places you can put it up. So I just think that will just explore. I think that will
Mhm.
explode. We'll just have more places to put more things um on your phone, and then as all of the providers start having their own streaming services again, it'll just be more places.
Mhm.
So I think the future is hopeful.
Yeah.
If you pivot, if you know how to pivot and you know how to you got to read the trades. You have to
Mhm.
read the trades. You have to stay up on what's happening and what's current.
Yeah.
more than ever, because it's just the technology is changing so rapidly.
Yeah,
And
so true.
that can be your biggest friend. And that also can be your, if you don't stay up on it, you'll be a dinosaur for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in my 40s and I'm not a TikToker. But I did get accepted into this TikTok sponsored creative course where we're talking about how to build TV series, ad series, marketing series on TikTok. And I'm in this group and I'm the oldest, but it's like if you don't invest your time into understanding these other technologies and these other different formats, you're not going to be able to position yourself in a way that helps you make money and helps you stay active within the production community. Like right now we have a YouTube show, I have a podcast. I'm doing it mainly, guys, to figure out how to build, how to create content in a new media format and bring more people together, connect more people. So if you're listening to this and you're inspired, be sure to share this with a friend. Before we go, Cass, do you have any last minute thoughts or questions or points and tips that you want to share with people?
Oh my gosh, I think we've shared them.
I
Stay
know, but
like
anything else? Are
relevant.
you good?
Stay relevant. Like I don't know. Stay hopeful. Stay
Yes.
hopeful, because and don't listen to, there's a lot of naysayers. It's like, oh, this whole industry is just going to pot. It's not. I don't entertain any of that. So
Mhm.
I would definitely say there'll always be naysayers. I've been very successful by staying in my bubble and staying true to what I know I can do and staying positive. So if you get into the, I don't know, full trajectory of what they say this industry is doing, and that it's just nobody's buying and nobody's doing this. And I'm not saying that that part of that isn't true, but there's still content. So somebody's buying,
Mhm.
somebody's writing, somebody's creating, even if it's less. So make sure you're in that, even if it's 1%. If you
Mhm.
keep your attitude positive, then you can be in that 1%. And that would be my final thought.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for listening. Be sure to check out the description for links to Cass, and the new film is on BET Plus, and connect with her on Instagram. Remember to use the hashtag #AskCass. You got to get some questions to her, but she probably will also take a DM. So get in touch with Cass if you have any questions, or reach out to me at hello@oncamready.com, and I can see if there's a way I can introduce you to. All right, guys. Now remember, Think Like a Producer is the next podcast you need to listen to. It's the companion piece to help you lean in to new media strategically. All right, I'll see you guys online. Find me on Instagram. Bye.